What's up, and welcome to another episode of Winged Octopus. We are shorthanded tonight. This is Tyler here alongside Greg, Tess, and Ryan aren't going to join us this week. They'll probably be back next week. Greg, how you doing in Michigan?
Oh, it's snowing again after it was nice and 60 at one point last week, and the Red Wings are losing. But other than that, I'm great, I guess. How are
Okay,
you?
first of all, I don't want to hear you crying about that because I just had to endure the Red Wings losing in overtime in Boston the other night. And we had two nor'easters. Now we're getting another one on Sunday. So I really don't want to hear your complaining, Greg, with all due respect.
You can move to Michigan.
So, anyways, the Red Wings have lost 4 games in a row. They lost to Boston the other night with me in attendance in overtime. Anthony Mantha had a good night, and they're losing right now to the Vegas Golden Knights. We are recording here on the 8th of March. So, anyways, Greg, if you want to shout out our sponsor, we'll get right into it here.
Yeah, as you all pretty much know, our sponsor is the one and only Howie's Hockey Tape. Howie's makes stuff for the locker room. They make laces, they make tape, they make stick wax. Anything you need, Howie's basically has. Check them out at howieshockeytape.com and use the promo code WINGEDO on your purchase to receive 10% off. Support Michigan-made products and buy Howie's.
Absolutely. They have great stuff. Guys, check them out. Tell them we sent you, and also, like Greg said, use the promo code and help out the Michigan company there.
Yep. So today we've got a few topics to get through. We're going to talk. What I want to start with first is Peter Mrazek. Now, we all knew that Peter Mrazek's trade had some conditional picks to it. And the first condition was what? That he won 5 games in regular season?
Yep.
So he had to win 5 games in regular season, and the Flyers had to make it to the playoffs. So he won his first 3. But since then, I believe he's dropped 3 or 4 in a row and has not looked great. Have you kept up with the Mrazek train lately?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I have friends that are Flyers fans. Obviously I'm on Twitter, so everyone's out talking about that and everything. So yeah, I mean, I've kept up with it. And actually, I watched the Flyers Penguins last night. I thought a lot of the same problems that he dealt with in Detroit, he's dealing with in Philadelphia. He's too aggressive. His angles aren't always the greatest. And I just think he's a prospect that's probably going to turn into nothing, and that's unfortunate. And I think his attitude on top of it all doesn't help matters. So, I mean, hopefully for our sake, he can get to that 5th win and the Flyers can make the playoffs. The Flyers have some woes right now. Their defense doesn't look too good. And from what I've heard from people that, they want Radko Gudas out of the lineup just as bad as everybody else wants him out of the lineup that they're playing against. So, yeah, I mean, I think he'll get to that 5th win. But like you said, we talked about this before. He may end up in Russia or overseas at some point because I just don't know that he's an NHL goalie. And I hate to say that, but.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, we don't want Radko Gudas in the NHL, but it's Mrazek, and it's the same problems he had here. It's inconsistency in goal. And cool, he won 3 games for you, and you were super pumped. And everyone on Twitter was yelling, "Oh, Detroit lost the trade. Could use Mrazek," because Howard wasn't doing so hot. But, I mean, look at Mrazek now. It's the same inconsistent goaltending. Though some of the people on Twitter pointed out that the Flyer Twitter fan base is much nicer to Mrazek after losing than our fan base would have been. But it's the same Mrazek. He didn't go to Philly and become magically amazing. That was never going to happen, and it didn't happen.
Nope. No, he is what he is. I mean, he is still young, so I guess he could get better at some point. But there's going to be a point in time where he just, he's not getting any better. He probably knows he's not getting any better. And if he wants to get paid, he's going to go to the KHL and get paid because they can afford to pay him.
Yeah, they'll just, but we saw today that the KHL is completely rigged. So it's Putin's favorite team will always win, and that's what's going to happen. But from Mrazek, we'll go to our new backup goalie, which is Jared Coreau, who once again got lit up in Boston like he got lit up in Boston last time, prompting a poll for Jimmy Howard. You were there. What'd you see in Jared Coreau?
Jared Coreau is exactly what we thought he was. He's a good AHL goalie. It doesn't translate to the NHL level. That's the third time I've seen him be pulled against Boston. There was one time he was pulled last year. Actually, no, I rewinded back. So in February, when I was there with my dad, or was it January? I don't remember. Anyways, he was pulled against Boston, and we came back and won because I believe Mrazek, or was it Howard? I don't remember, but he got pulled. They won that game. And then there was a game where they called up Robbie Russo in Boston, and he got pulled in that game too. And that was a game they lost like 6-1. And then he gets pulled again the other night. Like, Jared Coreau, as much as I, thought that, the size would be okay, no, it's not going to work out for him at the NHL level. And that's unfortunate because, at one point he looked at as a guy that could be a serviceable backup. Well, we're learning that is not going to be the case, which is unfortunate for his case.
Yeah, he's got the Ben Bishop size, but none of the Ben Bishop skill, and that's the big problem. He's not mobile. He's just big, and you can't be just big, or else you would sit a fat guy in front of the net and hope he blocks all the shots. It's sad too, because sure, we use him as a backup, and he'll only have to play maybe one more game or two more games the rest of the season, but we already know that those are games he's most likely going to lose. He looked good for like 4 of his NHL career games. The rest of them, it's bad. And the experiment's over. He'll be an AHL goalie forever. We'll find a new backup in the offseason, and that's where it's going to go. But I don't think the Red Wings can afford to play Jared Coreau at all next season.
Yeah, well, he's going to end up in the KHL because, like I said, you can make more money overseas, or, even in the Swedish Elite League or whatever. That's unfortunate. He now has a 10.43 goals against average.
That's great.
In one game. And a 750 save percentage.
I think that number is supposed to be, for goals against, you want a lower number. The lower the number, the better.
I believe that would be the case. So... not good for Jared Coreau, and not good for his case, because these are supposed to be games. And here's the other thing. I bitched and moaned and complained about him not getting ice time and him not getting out there. That's why he doesn't get out there. It's like a high school coach when, you're not playing well, or when you finally do get out there, you shit the bed. That's why you don't play. That's why you don't get in the net, Jared. Because you are not good. You're not good enough.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, that's what it comes down to.
This once Mrazek was gone, I took it as kind of a prove it period for Jared Coreau. You won the Calder Cup. You were good enough to do that. You've been playing great in Grand Rapids. Now come to Detroit and show us what you can do. And he came to Detroit and showed us he can do what he did last time he was here, which is be a very, very mediocre goaltender at the NHL level. And people online are saying, on Twitter, well, it's just one bad showing, but it's one bad showing after like 7 bad showings last season. And that's not something, if Howard, and Howard's got a glass groin, if Howard goes down again and you need him for 10 games, 11 games, he's not the kind of goalie that's even going to win you half of those games. So it's like the Coreau experiment is over. We need to look for a backup this offseason. He can stay in the AHL. He can go overseas, but he's not going to play for the Red Wings, I don't think, anymore.
No, I don't think so either. You'll see him, playing NHL 18, 19, whatever, and he'll be in one of the Swedish leagues, and you'll be like, oh, yeah, I remember that guy, kind of like Fabian Brunstrom or Damian Brunner or any of those guys.
Jan Mersak.
Jan Mersak, yeah. You've seen him in the Olympics this year, breaking the hearts of Team USA. But, I mean, like I said, he's just not an NHL goalie, and that's fine. There's a lot of players that don't cut it in the NHL. But you know what? He's going to make money, so it is what it is. He's a professional hockey player.
Yeah, let him go play where he'll get paid, but it's not going to be here.
Yeah, so, definitely not here.
So something else that happened in the Boston game was the horrible hit, and I say horrible lightly. the hit on Franz Nielsen that caused him what we all assume is a concussion, which would keep him out for the next 2 or more games, and got David Backes suspended for 3. But I think what pisses me off the most about it is the blinders that the Boston fans are putting on. The Boston fans are all over saying he didn't hit him in the head. It was unintentional. There was no head contact. There's no way Backus deserves a 3-game suspension, which I agree maybe 3 was a little too much. And what they keep going back to is, how come Patrick Hornquist wasn't suspended? If Patrick Hornquist didn't get suspended, then Backus shouldn't get suspended. But that's not how it works. He hurt a player. He hit him late when he didn't have the puck, and he's out. The player is injured. Nielsen is not coming back, so the suspension is justified. And just because one hit to the head didn't get punished doesn't mean that hit to the head shouldn't be punished.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's consistency, right? I mean, the NHL needs to start sending messages that they're going to be more consistent. And until they do that, everyone's going to bitch and complain about everything. Here's my issue with it. I don't think the hit was that bad. I think that, he probably deserved 1 game. I mean, Backus isn't this dirty player. He does play on the edge, but
he's got a clean record.
He doesn't really cross over it ever, if anything. He's not, like I said, he doesn't have a record or anything like that. So, I mean, giving him a 1-game suspension and, just basically sending him the message that you can't do that. It wasn't that bad, but,
exactly.
We're going to slap you on the wrist a little bit. Give him a little suspension and give him a little fine, and that's the end of it right there. I just think that the NHL needs to figure out what's going to be a hit to the head and what's not going to be a hit to the head. As Vegas scores to make it 2-0, as the Red Wings just had one of the worst line changes I've ever seen, and it's 2-0 Vegas. So that's what's going on in that game.
So the other big thing I took away from it was that I think the Boston Globe, I think it was the Boston Globe sports writer, put out an article saying it's hits like the Backus hit that are making that go punished, that make this a weak league. And my response to that is, Nielsen has a concussion. How does that make this a weak league? How does punishing someone for giving someone a concussion make this a weak league? Look at Johan Franzen, whose quality of life is low right now because of his concussion. You can't say, well, players should just get hurt and deal with it. Like, that's not a correct response.
Well, people around me, because, obviously I was there in attendance. I mean, I've seen the hit in person, but I'm not going to lie to you. I was drinking some beer. So, I had some in me. But I was fine enough to know that wasn't that bad of a hit. And there were fans around me that say that shouldn't have been a penalty. And the reason it was a penalty is because Nielsen was hurt. I don't think if Nielsen goes down and gets up a little bit and he's fine, there's no penalty on the play, I don't think. And I think that
it was very late.
Yeah, it was late, but define late, because late is different on every play. Because I mean, I'd have to go back and look at it in detail, as I did. I did watch the NHL player safety thing of it, but I don't know. I think it was a little bit of like a forearm to the head, and I don't think it was intentional. So, like I said, 1 game would have been fine, and I think the NHL blew it a little bit there.
It looked like a shoulder to the chin is what it really looked like, because once he got hit in the chin, his head whipped around and he just went down.
Yeah, so I think more of it was because of that than the actual contact. I think it was more the whip effect that probably gave him the concussion or whatever they're calling it.
Yeah, right now it's upper body injury, I believe, but he left the game and didn't come back. It didn't look good. I saw a couple replays from a few different angles. It didn't look good. It was definitely late. He deserved 1 game, but 3 was a little much. And if you're going to call 1, you've got to call it evenly. But as I've said before, I mean, the Penguins are Bettman's baby team, so he'll never punish anyone from that team.
Yeah, we'll see about that. I mean, they've done some borderline things that haven't gotten called, but as time goes on here, there is going to be another golden child. I mean, the Penguins have won 3 Stanley Cups with Sidney Crosby. I mean, there's going to be a point in time where someone else comes in. Maybe it's Connor McDavid, and he starts to get the calls. So we'll see what happens with that.
Yeah. So the Svechnikov are the Svechnikov. So the Nielsen hit leads to a call-up of Evgeny Svechnikov, who we've been waiting for a while to get called up. He was called up a couple games last season. I was at the game where he scored the shootout winner. That was really good. And Svech has had a semi-rough season in the Griffins. He had a pretty rough first half of the season where he only scored 2 goals in a little over 20 games, I believe. But this season, he's got 7 goals, 15 assists, 22 points in 52 games. So he's brought it on a little bit as of late. After he was going to make the Red Wings out of camp, but he had that injury that set him back. And he's just been, according to all the coaches, just been really hard on himself because he wants to be in Detroit, but he knows he had a slower start than he should have. What's your thoughts about Svechnikov?
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what. I like Svechnikov. I like his game. I haven't seen a whole lot of him. I mean, other than like the World Juniors, and then I seen a little bit of him with the Griffins, and then like I said, I seen some preseason hockey, and he's been there a few times when I've been in attendance. So I do like his game. And then obviously how many games did he play last year
in Grand Rapids?
No, in Detroit. In Detroit, yeah,
3.
Okay, so I did see all 3 of those games. I did like his game. I thought, he needed to get a little bit stronger. I think he's done that. But, I mean, the usage is what drives me insane. I mean, we're 7 minutes left in this period, and he's played 4 minutes and 47 seconds. The second last on the team to Luke Witkowski. Like, if you're going to bring the kid up, let the fucking kid play.
Yep. You're trying to figure out, like they said, the season is gone. The Red Wings aren't making the playoffs. You're trying to see what he can do for next season.
Don't tell them that.
You're trying to see what he can do for next season, but if you don't let him play at all, how are you going to evaluate him? He should be playing. You should play him some shifts on the top line with Zetterberg, play him some shifts on the second line, let him get some play with each line, see what he can do with different people. At this point, you should just be experimenting. You can fall into the bottom 3 and get yourself a better look at the lottery and just go ahead and go full force. Let him play on a few different lines, see what the kid can do, because he's shown talent in the juniors. He's shown a portion of talent in the AHL. And if you want to get a true test of what he can do at the NHL level, play him in different situations. Don't just give him pity minutes.
I'll tell you what, Jeff Blashill might be one of the biggest liars in all of sports, and especially in the Red Wing organization's history. This guy lies through his teeth. He sits there and tells you 2 years ago that the team was going to make the playoffs, and if they were going to do so, they were going to play the kids. They didn't play the kids a lot, so so they end up making the playoffs by the skin of their teeth. And then last year, and they ended up playing Richards, and they played all these old guys, and while Athanasiou and Larkin and Mantha all sit by the wayside. Actually, they sent Mantha down at that point.
Yep.
This Holy guy shit. Lies about everything.
I forgot that we had Brad Richards.
For 1 year. I actually didn't mind the guy, but he was done. And here's the thing. So, he does that, and then why are you going to pretend to say, oh, yeah, he's going to get a lot of minutes? Or he didn't say that, but he said he's here to stay. If he's here to stay, I better hope he's playing some games. Maybe it's just because of the travel or whatever. Maybe I'll give him a little bit of an excuse for tonight's game, maybe not 100% with the system. But he better start. If he's going to be up here, he better play. Otherwise, you better send him back down, because there's no point of having him up here and having him just watch. That doesn't do any good other than, learning the system and everything. You can do that over FaceTime, please.
Yeah, and they said that he'll stay up through Nielsen coming back. That's all well and good, but if they're going to sit him on the bench when Nielsen comes back, then I don't. No,
Greg Krupa said he's here for the rest of the year. That's what I've seen.
He can be here for the rest of the year, but they don't have to play him. Witkowski's been here the whole year, and he sits out games.
Yeah,
Like
Witkowski's another problem that I have with this team. You are trying to evaluate what you have from within. Although here's the thing with them. They don't know what they want. They want to play
no,
the kids, but they also want to make the playoffs. You're not making the playoffs. And even if you did play your older guys, they're not good enough anymore to make the
no,
playoffs. They're not
no.
good enough anymore. Not with this coach anyways.
Yeah, and look how he lied about Athanasiou. To get him to sign again, they promised him high minutes and they promised him top 6 like pairings and everything like that, top 6 line. And he's third or fourth line every night.
He's start getting 6 minutes tonight.
He didn't start getting bigger minutes until over halfway through the season. So it's because he goes cold and they think, well, he's not scoring every game, so he might as well lower his minutes. And that doesn't help at all. Blash will be gone. Hopefully Holland will be gone and we'll get a coach who can actually play kids and learn how to develop a system. But with Svechnikov, I really hope that once Nielsen comes back, they continue to play him, sit Witkowski and sit Booth and just play him. And they don't have to, it didn't burn one of their call-ups because they used an emergency on him. So they can still call up one more person. They'll save a call-up for a goalie, but they can still call up one more player. And I wish they would get a look at Frank before the season ends.
Yeah, I think they will. Barring an injury, I think there will be I don't know if you'll see Hronek. You might see Hicketts. You might see Arvi. Although I guess if there is one or two guys you would see, it would be Hicketts or Hronek.
Yeah,
because those guys have been there as longest. I don't know. They're just in a situation where they don't know what they want, and I think they need to bring somebody in that knows, takes an approach, and just says, "Hey, look, we're doing this, or we're going to do this." I mean, everyone says they need to rebuild, right?
Yeah,
and they do. They do.
Yep.
Make no mistake, they do. But what if a new GM comes in and they trade some of the dead weight and end up going and trading for Erik Karlsson, and then they end up drafting a bunch of kids and they let all these kids play along with Erik Karlsson? I have no problem with that, honestly.
No.
Now, I'm not saying that that's what they're going to do. I'm just saying if you want to think outside the box, that's fine. Now, you do that, then you better sign John Carlson too, because I'd be into that as well. But I think they just need to rebuild and let the kids play. I don't know what they're doing right now, and it's frustrating as a fan.
What we're talking now are dream scenarios.
Yes.
If Holland goes, then everything that you've seen on Twitter from the beat writers is out the window. What Khan said, and God, this makes me angry. What Ansar Khan said, who is basically the mouthpiece for Ken Holland, is what
he's a fraud.
Is that there will be no blue line changes unless a kid can beat out Nick Jensen in training camp. He says they're not buying out Eriksson. Kronwall can still move, so he's not retiring, and that they're not going to do it. They'll just re-sign Mike Green. So there's going to be no changes on the blue line unless someone can beat out Jensen. Then Holland has to be fired.
Yeah, I don't buy that. I talked to a certain person, and I can't say on air because that's not what the person wanted me to say. So I can't do so. But he thinks that Ken Holland could possibly be out at the end of the year as well. So, and I'm not going to say anything more than that.
No, based on what Chris Ilitch has said at spring training for the Tigers, he will not comment on Ken Holland's status. And to me, him not commenting on Ken Holland's status tells me that Ken Holland is gone. Because if he wanted to keep him, he would say something to the effect of, "We love Ken Holland in Detroit. He's been great for us for so many years. We'll see what next season has in store." Instead, he said, "There's no comment. We're here to talk about baseball." So that to me sounds like Holland is gone.
They can't be proud of this. They can't be proud of this.
God, no.
No way. And someone suggested the other day on Twitter that I'm not going to be a Red Wings fan anymore because the Illiches don't care about the team anymore and they're all money hungry. And Chris
how do they
Ilitch
know?
Doesn't care about sports. Here's my thing. I'm not going to say a word. But I think nobody's going to spend a lot of money on a brand new arena to see their team be mediocre.
Yep.
I mean, they want to fill the seats. Make no mistake, they want to fill the seats, but they want to be a winning team too. You don't think Chris Ilitch wants to say he's hoisting a Stanley Cup, or he gets to live on the legacy of his father and say, look, I got to bring a championship to Detroit as well.
Another one, yeah.
Of course he wants to do that. He wants to bring a World Series to Detroit too. He loves the city. I mean, there's no way that someone's going to put all the money that they did into a brand new arena, into a brand new practice facility, into all this just to see the team suck. No, he can't be happy with this. No way.
No, and he will not say anything until probably locker room clean out day. He'll have his comments, but there's no way he's happy with this team. And he knows a fan. Like Craig Custon said today in an article on The Athletic, and if you haven't subscribed to The Athletic, you really need to. Amazing site, quality content. But he said today that the fans are restless and the fans want a management change. And there's basically from everything that I've read from all the beat writers besides Khan and Helene, because, but they've said that Detroit needs to make a management change because it's not working. So we'll see what happens.
Well, I hate to give people shout outs on
3-0
on this here. 3-0. Yeah. So Red Wings diehards on Twitter. I'm not sure if you're familiar with the guy. There's some of the stuff I agree with and some of the stuff I don't agree with. I believe he does a Red Wings podcast as well. But he had a pretty good tweet the other day. The Red Wings are old. The Red Wings are poorly coached. The Red Wings are 25-34 in the playoffs since 2009. 61% of our salary cap is used on players over 30. What we've been doing for the past nearly 10 years has not worked. It's time to get younger. It's time to rebuild. So here's my thing to that. I like just about everything he said about that. We are rebuilding. But we're just not taking the right approach to letting all the kids play. Instead, we have Zetterberg and Abdelkader and Nielsen and X-player and this person and that person taking over the spots that should be Svechnikov, that should be Rasmussen, that should be Chalowski, that should be Hronek, that should be Hickett, Sarvi. All those guys should be getting an opportunity. Instead, we have trash covering what could potentially be, good to great players.
Yeah, I think it's blocking advancement, and they always talk about the log jam in the NHL and the log jam in our development. And the problem is that you create that log jam yourself, and you do nothing to alleviate it by signing people to terrible contracts. I don't mind keeping Zetterberg. He's been with the team forever. He's the captain. Let him play out the last 2 years of his career and retire. But I have a problem keeping someone like Cronwall, who literally at the end of last season could not skate, who had to have Dan Cleary style either injections or knee surgery. You don't he should retire at that point. He should take it upon himself to know he's hurting the team and retire. Why you spend money, and it's not even spend money, it was a while ago, but keep Jonathan Ericsson. You could have bought him out last season. Why are you doing, and it's all loyalty, and we know why. So, I mean, it's going to be talked about over and over and over again, but it's the same shit, different day for the Red Wings, and it'll be that way until they change management.
Yeah, well, I hate to say it, and the fans start to see this now. It's not before. Before, we were getting old, and fans were just like, yeah, no, we'll be good next year. We'll be fine next year. There's almost like the fans have no hope at all. This is starting to get a little bit ridiculous, and I do think that Chris Ilitch and all the Ilitches, and management and all those people, they do see what the fans say. I mean, the arena, yes, it's almost full now. There are empty seats, but for the majority, they are sold for the most part.
Yeah, it's corporate seat.
Yeah, it's corporate bullshit. That's what happens when you go into a new building. But if that team was good and that team was alive, those corporate seats would be sold. The team, the LCA would be bumping. This fan base loves this team. Like, people don't understand that. This fan base loves this team still, even though they're not what they were a few years ago or 5-10 years ago. The fan base still loves the team. They're still singing Journey. They're still singing Please Tell Me Why. They're singing all these things still at LCA, and it's half full. Imagine what that thing would sound like if it was 100% full, like Joe Louis Arena once was.
It is meant to be the loudest arena, the way that it's built, but it's not going to be loud if you can't fill it with people and have a good team. There's no reason to scream at bad teams. I don't want to hear a crowd full of boos in the hockey league's loudest arena. So like you said, it's getting more full. There's less empty seats. I went to the game against Chicago.
The price, no?
What they're giving you the opportunity in game to upgrade and move down for like $20.
Yeah, so. But I think they've lowered the price like on game day tickets as well.
Yeah, game day ticket prices are lowered.
Yeah, good.
But
they never should have. They never should have thought that people in Michigan were going to spend a lot of money, or not a lot of money, but a lot of money on a team that's just not very good.
Yeah. So and maybe next year we'll learn with new management. We'll learn with a slightly younger team, hopefully. But you don't know until it happens, and that's the hard thing right now. But
they just don't know what they want, and until they know what they want, I mean, we're just going to be stuck where we are, like Carolina, like Ottawa, like a bunch of teams in hockey purgatory, which is the worst place possible because they're not bad enough to be the worst team in the NHL, and they're not good enough to make the playoffs, and they're certainly not a Stanley Cup contender.
No.
Those years are long gone.
I know that our podcast has been mostly bleak and gloom and doom, but the upside, I guess, to all of this is that we do have a crap ton of picks in this year's draft, and we can get some talent because it's pretty deep with valuable defensemen. So I think going into the draft, if we can get rid of Ken Holland and get a competent GM in here that can have a stellar draft, then I think going into next year, I'll feel pretty good.
Well, it's just a matter of finding the right person to replace him, because you don't want to just go down the same road that you're doing and loyalty. But I guess if a new GM comes in, there is no loyalty.
Yep. So everything's out the window,
which is a good thing, unless the demand for Eriksson to play is the Illich's, and then that's where you have a major problem.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
I think we're gonna wrap it up here, Tyler. Let's get your final thoughts, and you can take us out.
Yeah, I don't have anything other than the Red Wings. I guess, everyone says tank for Rasmus Dahlin. And I was called out the other day because I said that at the beginning of the year. And now I'm just like, well, I'm not going to root for a team to lose. Well, they're losing. And if they do lose, they lose. But I'm not going to say, oh, yeah, let's go Vegas. I want them to beat the Red Wings. No, I'm watching my team. I'm not going to waste my time hoping they lose. If they lose, they lose. And you know what? They're losing again tonight, 4-0 to Vegas. So they're going to get a high draft pick either way. They're going to probably have this thing turned around in 3 or 4 years. I think we're just making mountains out of molehills like we always do. Greg, shout out your Twitter handle, please.
Yep, you can find me on Twitter at Bringing the Wing.
You can follow me on Twitter at Ghost of Datsuk. You can also follow the Winged Octopus on Twitter at Winged Octopus. You can like us on Facebook and also follow us on Instagram. That's really all I have. Wings are trailing the Vegas Golden Knights 4-0 after 2 periods, so there's really no reason to watch other than hoping Svechnikov gets more ice time. Other than that, stay classy, Hockey Town. We'll be back next week. Go Wings.